There is an intersection between education and politics. Of course, there is. What one's encouraging young people to do is to think clearly and carefully about ideas. I think it was William Hague mentioned how in his first Oxford speech he was asked to prepare a speech in favour and against the motion, which of course is what you should be encouraging students to be doing. But through the lens of Jonathan Gullis's experience and his strong views on how political bias in teaching impacts employment and the classroom environment, he shows another view, and a view which is disturbing. He lost his seat in the last election. He's been looking around for alternative employment. He's considered the possibility of going back into teaching, and he's found that he's getting no interviews, he's getting nowhere. And he believes that it's because of his political, the expression of his views politically in Parliament over the last few years. The teaching, like many professions, has a political spectrum, but historically leans more towards the centre-left. So the premise of any discussion, I suppose, touching on Gullis's frustration that his conservative background could be an obstacle to re-entering teaching, is a reasonable one. It's either Jonathan Gullis or woke. But Jonathan Gullis, as former MP, Conservative MP, former teacher, has openly expressed his struggle to find teaching jobs post-politics in an industry which is crying out for teachers. That doesn't make very much sense. He argues that his political beliefs are a barrier to employment in the field, and he believes that the teaching profession has shifted to treat conservatives with disdain, citing the profession's woke leanings have become more entrenched in recent years. He also critiques what he sees as a rise in activism within schools, asserting that it detracts from quality education. I don't believe he's right. I think he's expecting a quick fix and he hasn't got it. And I'm not quite sure what he would propose to be teaching. His views connect to a broader debate on the so-called woke culture, which some argue has become pervasive. It can be loosely defined as an awareness of social justice issues, including race, gender, equality, but critics like Gullis argue that it can become overbearing and ideological in the classroom. This shift, he claims, prioritises activism over academic rigour, leading to a focus on progressive values which might alienate more conservative teachers or parents. Discussions about gender identity, the removal of classic texts, which are considered outdated or offensive, changes to history curricula to reflect more diverse perspectives, and this has sparked concerns that teachers who don't align with these progressive views could be marginalised. Gullis's perspective highlights the fear that conservative views are being shut out, with politically charged hiring processes where activism plays a role in employment decisions. But not all schools and teachers fit this mould. One notable example, is Catherine Birbal-Singh, often referred to as Britain's strictest teacher, Britain's strictest headmistress. Birbal-Singh is the founder of the Michaela Community School, which espouses strict discipline, traditional teaching methods, and a strong emphasis on personal responsibility. If he can't get a job anywhere else, maybe he should be writing to her. Birbal-Singh, a known advocate for conservative values in education, has become a key figure in countering what she sees as the overly progressive tendencies in many schools. Her school runs counter to the modern woke ideology she would maintain, focusing on discipline, respect for authority and conservative values. Her leadership showcases how right-wing ideals can still have a significant influence on education, providing an alternative model to progressive schools. While Gullis and Birbal-Singh's perspectives are notable, it's important to recognise that political diversity does exist in the education system. There are schools and teachers across the political spectrum, and many argue that a healthy mix of viewpoints can enrich the learning environment for students. I think not least is the fact that hiring teachers at the moment is probably a very stressful position because there isn't enough money, and the teaching profession is in chaos, whether in the state system or the private system. Activism in schools is harmful, but a balance can be struck where a diversity of political views coexists without detracting from educational quality. And the fact that somebody has a professional and public image before coming into school, I think, is quite often a benefit in the classroom rather than a hindrance. The crux of the issue is whether or not politics should play a central role in education. I think it should, simply because of the nature of the word. Politics comes from the Greek word for polis, the city. We live in a civilized society, a society which is defined by city dwelling, by living in the chives, the city. We are citizens, and and therefore we are engaged in politics. We get the word citizen from the Greek word from the Latin word for city. We get the word politics from the Greek word for city. But either way, we're not milking our village goat and living in a community where everybody knows who we are. So we have to learn how to project our views and how to develop our views in harmony with everybody else, even if our views don't necessarily match what other people believe. We don't have to have the same views in order to be friends and neighbours.